Before we start shooting, Mr. Wood, we have a few questions.
Yes, the script contains numerous references to grave robbing. Now, we find the concept of digging up consecrated ground to be highly offensive. It is blasphemy.
What are you talking about? It's the premise of the movie. It's the title of the movie, for Christ's sakes.
Mr. Wood!
Yes, about that title. It strikes us as very inflammatory. Why don't we change it to Plan 9 from Outer Space?
Hey guys, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Picture This Film Reviews. I'm Dan.
Kayla.
And that makes me Matt. Hey.
Thanks for tuning in with us on this wonderful Thursday. You saw us earlier this week on Monday. Matt brought us up-to-date breaking news, as was the time of that video. So we're really excited to be back and back to our normal kind of show. Where we're going to be talking about or finishing our round. I'm second in line, with our favorite directors, mine being Tim Burton. I decided to pick a movie that I had not seen before, and we have gone with the Ed Wood. So we're going to be talking about that on this episode. Matt, you have something to say?
Yes, I was just going to say, first of all, happy Thursday, everybody. Second of all, can we talk very, very extremely briefly that we all got together and watched Amazon Prime's Good Night, Mommy?
We did, indeed. We did.
We did.
And Good Night, Mommy, it was. Because Good Night put it to bed.
Put us to sleep.
So I think the general consensus, just for everyone watching, because we like to update people on what we watch, even if it's something that we are not necessarily reviewing that week. We all got together and watched Good Night, Mommy. I think the general consensus is that we're not fans generally. I don't think I hated it as much as maybe the others that are with me right now, but I definitely didn't enjoy it, and I thought it could have been done better. There's a twist, shocker, and you can guess it within the first 6 minutes of the film. That was my biggest complaint. Otherwise, I thought the acting was good, and I thought the story was good.
So I'm glad you brought up twists, Matt, because if we're talking about what we watched this week, and we'll bounce it back to you in a second. Kayla and I also ended up watching a movie on Netflix called Do Revenge. I'm not sure if you've seen that one, but conversely, it has the same Ethan Hawke's daughter, Maya Hawke. Who else was that in?
Cami
Mendes, who we see from Riverdale.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I saw it on Netflix.
Yes, sir.
I've seen the advertisement.
One of the actors from Euphoria was in it as well. The boyfriend, Kat's boyfriend.
Oh yes, Austin something. I can't remember.
We're not sure what his name is, but I'm not going to spoil it because it's like brand spanking new on Netflix. But would definitely recommend. Personally, I would recommend the watch. It has a big twist in it that I think I did not see coming. Kayla may have, I don't know, but
just
to me,
a little bit.
it was a lot better hidden than what you had with Good Night, Mommy. That's all I was going to say.
Did I tell you? Did I mention that I'm actually in the process of going through and rewatching Riverdale? Did I tell you guys?
Oh, really? All seasons?
Yeah, I had stopped watching after season 4. I watched season 4 when what's his name? I know his character's name. I can't think of his real name. When Fred Andrews died, I can't think of his name.
Oh,
Archie's dad, Luke Perry. Yes, when Luke Perry passed away, I watched that season, and I never watched any of the others. And season 7, which is coming, is said to be the final season.
Yes.
So I haven't seen 5 or 6, and it's been so long since I've seen 4. I'm currently going through and rewatching Riverdale, and the first 2 seasons of that show are great.
Yes, they're perfect.
Yes, like I forgot how great they were, and then I get into season 3, and they're doing the whole gargoyles and thing,
yes.
and that kind of like, oh, okay, show's it's not really going downhill, but it's not the same. Those first 2 seasons of Riverdale are great TV.
That's where we stopped watching with season 3 because it just got outlandish. Like,
yeah,
you expect a certain type of like theme or whatever going into Riverdale, but then this just takes a very weird turn. And you're like, this is not
Yeah.
1 and 2. Yeah,
I feel-
season 2 is my
I feel
favorite.
like another show, a related show, the new Sabrina show.
Yeah,
Oh.
they're connected. Yeah.
The first season I thought was, it wasn't bad. It was different, had a different take. It was definitely darker than the original, like Sabrina Teenage Witch, but it wasn't terrible. And then like season 2, man, like it just flipped a switch and went like, woo, we're going. So
But
not
anyway,
sure if the writing direction on that is, yeah.
I mean,
But what else? We started watching Nope. We haven't finished that yet because, somebody else apparently is going to watch Nope. But yeah, so far so good. But outside of that, Matt, did you have anything else you watched this week? Anything else you wanted to go into?
I also started watching Nope. Did we start watching it at the same place?
Probably.
Okay, so I might have messed you up because I just started today.
we started last night, and I think we had like 38 minutes left. But
Oh no, so I probably definitely messed you up.
okay, it's your. It's
How far
your
did you get?
movie.
I only got an hour in, so I wasn't going to mention it, but since we're talking about it, it's slow moving, but I hear that it picks up. So, I mean, I guess if you only have 38 minutes left, then you know better than I do. But
I really like it so far. I'm excited to see how it ends. It really it's a slow burn. Like in the beginning, you're like it drags a little bit. I think because you're trying to get into like the dynamic of the characters and like the thing. But yeah, it gets in my opinion, it gets really good. And the other, who is it? Jordan Peele,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
His stuff I think has been good.
I agree. I just got an idea as we're recording. So how about, because Mondays are our bonus show. How about Monday, after we'll have all of us, I assume, have finished it. How about Monday we cover Nope and talk about Nope?
Sounds like a plan.
Nope. Yes.
So anyways, talking about slow burns of a movie, we're going to dive back into Ed Wood. I did not have Miss Kayla rehearsed for this at all, unfortunately, so I will be doing the stats again on top of being a host on this episode, so my apologies.
They're like right on your phone if you want me to.
But this is so special. My talent is so... No, just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I am reviewing the stats for, I was about to say Nope. For, what is this? Oh yeah, Ed Wood. Okay. So Ed Wood, directed by Tim Burton. Okay. This got a 7.8 on IMDb out of 10, a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 70% on Metacritic. And also this movie had a budget of $18 million. That's like crazy when you're thinking and you're watching black and white movies, going back to like Clerks, who probably had like a budget of $27,000. So this movie brought in $71,000
On its opening weekend. And grossing worldwide, it brought in a big $5 million, kind of close to like 6 million, but 5 and some change. This runs about 2 hours and 7 minutes. So Matt might have watched this movie twice in 1 month. So did you use the potty both times while watching this?
So this is a long movie. This could definitely be one that you take a potty break for. I personally did not, but I wouldn't judge anybody who had to.
And I also believe that this is rated R. Is that correct?
So. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, R. And it released in 1994.
Yeah.
So, and we had other movies. This is like the third movie that we've watched in the last couple of weeks from 1994. So it's kind of cool to see all the different takes of, filmography from 1994. So
94 was a banging year, let me tell you.
And I guess I'm also forgetting the cast of this, so that would be very helpful. We have Johnny Depp playing Ed Wood, Martin Landau playing Bela Lugosi, Sarah Jessica Parker playing Dolores Fuller, and Patricia Arquette playing Kathy O'Hara. So even for 1994, it had a lot of big names and up and coming. And I mean, we've seen Patricia Arquette, so this is a huge difference from True Romance. So, anywho, those are your stats for the movie.
Very good. Very well done.
I know.
And the only thing I'll add to that, well, a couple things. The movie is filmed as a comedy biographical film of the life of an actual film director, Ed Wood, Ed Wood Jr., which I think needs to be stated to understand where we're going with this. And it is one of the first films that Tim Burton released that did not feature a musical score by Danny Elfman,
Wow.
which is like super crazy. It was done by Howard Shore, but we definitely went off the beaten track from Tim Burton's regular films to do this.
And Howard Shore, for those who don't know, Howard Shore is known for lots of things, but scored The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. And then
Wow.
I think he did something else, but I'll let you continue talking. Once I look it up, I'll jump back in with that.
Yeah, no problem. So with that, it was nominated for several awards. It won a few, among that Academy Award for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. The film was done entirely in black and white, so that was super interesting to see. I believe there was a colored part toward the end where they reviewed Bela Lugosi's final scene out in front of the house. At least I know that was in color in real life, and maybe I'm just misremembering at that point, but
No, okay. He's getting confused a little bit. So we ended up watching Plan 9
From Outer Space, which is Ed Wood's
after this.
crowning
We
film.
watched some of it, and that was in color. I think that's where you're kind of like.
Gotcha. Jumbled. So it was interesting to kind of to go see some of the real. We honestly just sped through it a little bit, stopped at certain parts. And I will say, for what we watched in the actual like Plan 9 From Outer Space, and I personally saw a clip from The Bride of the Monster, the portrayal of that in Ed Wood, this biographical film, was point on. I know a lot of effort and attention was spent toward Martin Landau, for instance, being coached on how to talk like Bela Lugosi. If you had said the name Bela Lugosi to me, I would have had no idea what you're talking about, and I feel really ashamed for the simple fact that that's Dracula. That is, the man, the myth, the legend himself. But I think, even in his own time when he was alive, it was kind of hard to see that he had been forgotten by folks that may have even grown up on his movies. And Ed Wood developed a really big relationship with Bela Lugosi and a friendship. He incorporated him as the main character, the starring character in all of his movies up to the point that he had passed, and even in some after he had passed, which is wild, the devotion that he had. And that was an inspiration for Tim Burton, why he said he wanted to do this film. He had a very close relationship with an actor himself. You remember the name who we were looking up beforehand? But anyways, he had a very close relationship with another actor.
Was it Vincent Price?
Yes,
Yes.
Vincent Price. I'm so sorry.
I just.
And that kind of that really is what spoke to him and made him want to do this biography, which again is something that Tim Burton had never done. The style coming into the movie was very Tim Burton-esque, and I felt that as much of the real director's life that you had in this, you had just as much creativity from Tim Burton. Like, I don't know, there was elements of his directing that really shine through to me. I mean, in particular, like just some of the scene builds, the way it was narrated, the fact that it had Johnny Depp in it, for cripe's sake, what was interesting to me about this film too, I know again, when I get into talking about this stuff, I get all over the place because I'm just thinking so many things. When Johnny Depp came into this film, he apparently was tired of acting. He was getting to the point that he was tired of even making films. And he took this as kind of a way to stretch his legs, creatively, and do something different than what he had done prior. I mean, his opening, like his very first performance was Nightmare on Elm Street. So this is a little bit beyond that. And when he had the chance to have Martin Landau work with him, apparently he played a big influence on him and made him rekindle his love for acting. So a huge shout out to Martin Landau for igniting that passion in a fellow actor who was newer on the scene, but had already burned out at that time. But if it wasn't for this movie, we might not have had some of the greats later on in Johnny Depp's acting career. So definitely a huge shout out to that. But overall, back to the movie. My review,
Is that your review? Like, are you reviewing it right now?
just talking about some odds and ends. I know I kind of droned on.
I
Personally, this movie was not my favorite of Tim Burton's. I think that as a biography, it did a good job. And again, as cited before, it stayed very close to the actual facts of what happened. There were some comedy elements in. It's amazing to see kind of I would say, a tragedy of Ed Wood's life. There's a lot that happened beyond this film that we aren't shown and aren't told about. But you do get the sense, he struggled up to a certain point. I think Tim Burton did a good job of cutting it off at the end and kind of giving him, a proper end as Plan 9 from Outer Space being reviewed in the film as his send off, his big point. But overall, acting was solid. The story I just couldn't really get into. I think we stopped and, started again on this movie maybe 3 or 4 times to get through it. It was just a lot to take in. Overall, I'm glad I watched it, but I personally could not picture watching this again. And that's where I am with this. And I'm going to turn it over to whoever wants the floor after I've rambled.
Do you want it, Matt? Do you want me?
It doesn't matter. I can, or if you want to go.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Very briefly, Howard Shore did the music for this. He also did The Fly, like I mentioned. He's also most known for the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. He also did The Hobbit. I'm not sure if he did all 3 Lord of the Rings films.
Wow. That's amazing.
But yeah, that's who Howard Shore is. He did the 3rd Twilight movie.
Ooh, okay.
Gangs of New York. It looks like just which one's this? He did the first 2 Lord of the Rings films, and then The Hobbit, the first Hobbit movie.
Sweet.
So that's who Howard Shore is, boys and girls. So, very briefly, where did you guys watch this? Did you watch it on YouTube, or did you end up going somewhere else to?
It was on YouTube.
You watched the YouTube version, okay? So I had originally watched the YouTube version when I did my Johnny Depp binge, and that was not the best quality. I think if I remember correctly, wasn't it like mirrored, or wasn't it like halfway cut off, or something was wrong with it, right?
See, and speaking about this, when we watched Plan 9 for Outer Space, the scene that they talk about, Bela Lugosi's final scene before he dies, was flipped. So it makes sense if you're saying that it was mirrored, that makes sense.
I never
Okay.
even noticed.
Okay.
Even...
So I remember while watching that something was off with the picture on the YouTube version. So I actually spent the $3 and rented this on Prime, which I was hesitant on doing, but I was like, you know what? I need to give this a fair shot, because if I go off just what I had seen on YouTube, I was going to give this movie a very poor review. And I didn't think that was fair to the movie, especially since so many other people say that this is one of Johnny Depp and Tim Burton's best. So I wanted to go into it the best way that I could. So I rented it on Prime, and I watched it just last night. Which, by the way, guys, it's still, I have like a 48-hour thing. So if you want to log into my Prime, let me know if you want to rewatch it. So a couple things, and I'll come full circle back to why I'm asking about the quality. Ed Wood is known, I guess, as the worst director of all time, the worst filmmaker of all time. He's very, very, very low budget, very independent. And, that kind of spoke to me in a way that Kevin Smith speaks to me. He was kind of Kevin Smith before Kevin Smith. And of course, you could I guess it's proven that Smith has been more successful than Ed Wood. But so I had no idea that Bela Lugosi's the end of his end of his life looked like. I knew who he was. I'm not as bad as Dan. I knew who I knew who Bela Lugosi was. He's Dracula for everyone. He is the OG original Dracula actor. Um, but I had no idea how tragic the end of his life was. I didn't know that he was an addict, um, which is sad to see such an iconic name go out the way he did. And while the drugs may not have necessarily killed him, I believe it says his official cause of death was a heart attack. He was up there. He was like 77 or something, but still, he might have, had he not been an addict, who knows, he might have lived longer. It's sad that, and while I'm taking nothing away from Ed Wood, the person, it's sad that his career, Bela Lugosi's career, uh, ended in him doing these movies for, $1,000 a film, to just to pay for his drug habit. But I guess out of that supposedly comes a good friendship between him and Ed. So that's a blessing. You get the good and the bad, right? I agree with Dan. The opening felt very Tim Burtonish, and while this is perhaps just as Tim Burton as any other Tim Burton film, whereas you got Johnny Depp, you got a lot of the cast. You've got what's his name? Jeffrey. Oh gosh, from Beetlejuice. What's his name?
Jeffrey O'Hara?
Jeffrey. No, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Jones. I'm sorry.
Jones. I kept wanting to say Dean Morgan, but that's that's Walking Dead. Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Jeffrey Jones. You've got a couple others. But while it's very Tim Burton, it's also completely different. And we just got done covering a Kevin Smith film that was unlike any other Kevin Smith film. This could be said that this is unlike any other Tim Burton film. You could say Big Fish also, but this came before that. I didn't hate it the second time. And I think the way I viewed it as opposed to watching it on YouTube, I think that actually helped. I think it helped me enjoy it better. I think I understood the story better, whereas the first time I was just kind of, what is going on? I struggled. Like I stopped and started like you guys. I struggled to figure out what was happening with this movie. The second time I watched it this last night, I enjoyed it. I knew exactly what was going on. I related to some of it, and I found myself laughing at parts of it. What's his name? Sorry, now this week I'm the one with the bad memory with names. Martin Landau. That's not who I was thinking of, but while I got him, Martin Landau, I thought was phenomenal as Bela Lugosi. I think he is a highlight of this movie. I think he hit the nail on the head. Johnny Depp is, of course, always great. He's Johnny Depp. I don't think I know, having just watched them all. I don't think, in my opinion, he doesn't have a bad performance. He has movies that are better than others, but he doesn't have a bad performance. Sarah Jessica Parker was good. But who am I thinking of?
Patricia Arquette?
No. Ghostbusters guy.
Yes, I can't think of his name. Bill Murray.
Bill Murray. God.
Yes.
I'm looking at my notes and I know it's in here somewhere, but I can't find the name. Bill Murray surprised me. I'm not his biggest fan, but it surprised me. I liked it. I liked what he did with the character, and I liked that he wasn't. I think it was because he was fairly placed, like throughout. He was sprinkled in and wasn't like heavily in the movie. So I found myself whenever he did show up, and he was one of the parts that I laughed out loud at. Yeah. I don't remember specifically the part, but I remember he said something or did something that made me actually chuckle out loud, which a year ago I wouldn't have ever admitted. Overall, I think Dan also said it correctly when he said, how how did you say it? You said this is sorry, my brain is done for the night. He said, as far as he didn't say that. I'm going to say this, and it's very similar to something he said. So let's just call it that. As far as Tim Burton movies go, is this the best Tim Burton film? In my opinion, no. Is this a very good film? In my opinion, yes. I now get the hype. I didn't get the hype the first time. The second viewing, not on YouTube, I got the hype. If we were still giving numbers, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I would picture myself watching this again, but not right away. I think it's one of those that you can't just watch just to watch. It's one of those that maybe once a year, maybe once every couple years, turn it on. It's not something that you just watch for fun, but it is a very, very good film, and good job by all involved.
I want to say one thing here to you, Matt, that kind of stuck with me in regards to you, because I know you said that there are certain parts that reminded this of you and also of Kevin Smith. Really, the part that made me think of you in this was when he's sitting down at the table with Orson Welles, which, if that happened, no one really knows. But when he's talking about, his vision and, making it happen, like, it kind of reminded me of what you had said about Kevin Smith, what he had told to you, as far as, if you consider yourself a filmmaker, you are a filmmaker.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and here, like you said, Ed Wood scraped everything he had together, and ultimately he loved his movies. I don't think it was ever a doubt of, whether or not he felt or put his heart and soul into what he did. Other people just didn't understand what he had put together in front of them. But yeah, go ahead. I know you have something to say.
I was just gonna bounce off of that and say I think that's why I connect so well with a lot of independent filmmakers. It's not just Kevin Smith. It's the Ed Woods. It's the guys. What's his name? Originally Jason Blum. Of course, now it's huge, but in the beginning, Jason Blum was independent. Who's the other guy that made Saw? James Wan. He's still kind of an independent filmmaker, but not so much anymore. But he's very much started out that way. I love all those guys. And I think the connection, because I see the passion in them, they're not doing it for the paycheck. I had a conversation just a week ago when I was talking with someone about this new film that I'm potentially working on. And he said, this guy asked me, so what's the end result? Like, are you going to try to get it like in a film festival if you make it? Or you like, you going to try to sell it and make a bunch of money? Do you want Hollywood to buy your idea? And I was like, not necessarily any of that. Like, all that'd be cool, sure. But that's not why I want to do it. Like, I want to do it just because I love telling stories. I love getting people my friends together and like, hey, let's make pretend. And I'm a storyteller at heart, and I think that's what I connect with. That's what I think Kevin Smith, Ed Wood, and I'm not putting myself in the category of those people. Maybe I could be in the same category as Ed Wood, but I don't wear dresses. But I think that's what we all have in common. I think we don't do it for the money. We don't do it for the fame. We do it because we love what we do, and we love to tell the story. And that's what's most important, as long as we get our story out there. So that's why I connect to films like this and people like that.
Appreciate that, Matt, for your review. And now we're going to kick it over to Miss Kayla. Kayla, why don't you tell us what your view on the movie was?
Okay. So I think we can all agree that the beginning part, that the beginning part of the movie was very Tim Burton. Like, he put it all right in there. They go into the little house, which I'm sure they made out of clay or something. It was but anyway, also when you have the fortune teller, I can't remember what his name in the movie was, but he opens the casket. I love that part when that's how they introduce the movie, because you're thinking like, ooh, you're gonna go on a little creepy little ride, but it's not really. It's a different kind of story. But when you were talking about, Matt, when you were talking about Bill Murray's character, when they all go to get baptized in the pool, there was Bill Murray's character in there when after they dunk his head in there and then he gets back up. I was cracking up at that. That was so funny. And I think
that might have been where I laughed. I
Yeah.
don't remember, but I think that might have been it.
that was great. And I don't know if that was improvised, like his reaction. I don't know. But it was fantastic. And I think Bill Murray being sprinkled in was just the right taste of Bill Murray. Like you had just enough to be like, yeah, this is good. Okay. Trying to think about I wanted to touch base on the actual story of Ed Wood, because we're talking about Bela Lugosi going through his own problems and it being very unfortunate. But Ed Wood himself, you know, when you actually read about his life and what came, you know, after all of this movie takes place, it's actually very sad. And you know, he ended up being an alcoholic and you know, being kicked out of houses, ended up not making any money from any of these films, having to write I can't say the word, but having to write scripts and starring in adult films, yes, to make money. But all of the money that he made for that was all put into alcohol. So he would find an apartment that was right next to a liquor store and have his checks sent right to the liquor store to pay for liquor. And it would get so bad that he, like the neighborhoods that he would live in were so bad that he would get mugged on the regular from his cash. So he would no longer cash his checks. He would just have them right through. He would have a tab right at the liquor store. So it's just really sad to think that we have this movie that's supposed to highlight, you know, this person, but in actuality, it's kind of a tragedy. And, you know, Tim Burton paints it at the end when he shows, you know, the little paragraphs about each person, like where they went on to, like about Kathy, his Ed Wood's last wife, and then Ed Wood. But that's not how, you know, it ended up being. So it's kind of sad. Like Vampira, she was broke and had a chair to her name when she died. That was all she had. A chair and a penny, right? That's all she had. Ed Wood had nothing. So it's like, this is a tragedy, but yet a comedy. And I think that Tim Burton took that into consideration because all of the characters at some point in this story are broken. And I think this version that they showed was the best of Ed Wood that they could show to you. And yeah, Johnny Depp's performance of this, I think, was phenomenal. You know, and there was a scene where he first took out his fake teeth, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to read about this because I'm wondering, like, is that just a show? What have you? Blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, I can't think of the word, but the character itself, the person itself, Ed Wood, was, you know, I don't know, like I feel bad saying that I'm not going to say it was a terrible movie because it's not a terrible movie. It's something that I think you watch once and you've got your fill of it. And like you said, Matt, it's not something that you go back to watch to enjoy. You go back to watch it and maybe look for something that you didn't see before, and which is what you did. But you know, overall, I think it was very well done. What else can I say about it? It's sad about Bela Lugosi too, because I would have never known that he was so troubled too, and it came down to being a morphine addict, you know, at the end of his life, having absolutely nothing either. And I don't know if that was how Hollywood was at that point. I don't know. But all the acting was very well done. It's not my favorite Tim Burton movie, but I can understand why it gets the recognition that it does. So maybe I can picture myself watching this again, in a different setting, maybe like if I was studying cinematography or filmography or whatever, to understand. But I don't think it's meant for laughs and giggles. I think it's meant to be something serious, and you're meant to see and understand a person's life that happened that you would just brush off as the worst film director of all time. I mean, and I think that's what Tim Burton was trying to do. He's not the worst film director because he opened up all these other things that wouldn't have happened if he didn't explore and try to put hard work into these things. So yeah, thank you for recommending that because I'd never seen it before. So that was definitely one for the books.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for your reviews on the movie. And I think that, it kind of goes in line with what people who, watch this would say. The average layperson might not like this movie so much, whereas the actual movie critics who can put their thoughts together and speak intelligently on a film, they can appreciate the complexities of the story put in front of them. But overall, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm telling you, I think we all agree it's not something like we just said that you can watch over and over again. But if you get the chance, watch it not on YouTube. I think that makes a world of difference because that quality on that one YouTube video that's on there, the only one, so we all know which video we're talking about. I think the quality really does make a difference. So if you get to watch it on Prime or Vudu or whatever, definitely take that chance at some point.
All right, I want to say something else too, really quick. I like the fact that it was done in black and white. I can't see this film being done any other way because I think black and white adds to the kind of nostalgia type, you know what I mean, old Hollywood, and how it would have played out back then. And I just like that they went the whole movie, the entirety of the movie was black and white. It reminded me very much because when you have Clerks and stuff, it also felt older in a sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that's what they're going for.
Well, also at the end of the film too, you had what filmed in Hollywood, USA, which is how Ed Wood would have ended his films as well. So a nice little ode to him as well. But back to you, Matt.
I was just going to agree and say that, I couldn't picture this film in color. So I think that was a very smart choice on Burton's part to make this in black and white. Because it wasn't like when you watch Clerks and you see it and you may not know that it's in black and white, you're just kind of like, oh, and it's kind of like throws you. This, you almost expect it to be in black and white. Like, it's weird. You don't expect it to be in color. Like, I never expected it to be in color. And, I'm glad it wasn't because I think it would have hurt it, actually. I don't think it would have given it anything. It would have taken away some of it if it had been.
Yep. Alrighty. So now that we've reviewed this awesome movie, and again, thank you to our folks for coming in and sitting through this with us. We have now come up on the time for a show where Kayla is going to introduce her pick for favorite director and also her film. And then we get to spin the wheel of tomorrow.
Mythicality. No, just kidding.
No, copyright infringement. Oh, take that off.
I didn't even hear what she said, so.
All right,
okay.
I had to.
But spin the wheel of the movies of tomorrow. So, Miss Kayla, who's your director pick?
Okay, so I thought about this for a really long time, up until like literally 1 minute ago. Because I've been so torn and it's hard to really like pinpoint because I don't feel like I'm a film connoisseur. I don't feel like I've seen enough of one director to be like, oh my God, yes, that is my thing. That is my jam. But I've seen enough of this director to know that I love this art style. I love the stories that they convey. And I love the stories that they pick because to me, I watched a lot of these growing up. So they're very nostalgic and represent my childhood for me. So we have already watched one movie from this director, I'm sure. So my director that I'm picking is Hayao Miyazaki. So from Studio Ghibli. And I'm not going to pick House Moving Castle since we've already done that one, but I'm going to pick a different one. There are a lot of ones that are really popular, really famous for what they are, but all of his films, if you're interested in any other ones, are on HBO Max currently. But I'm going to pick Spirited Away, which is, I don't know what year it came out, maybe 2006, I'm thinking maybe earlier than that, 2006 maybe. Anyway, this film is a lot different than House Moving Castle.
2001.
Oh, okay, way before House Moving Castle, about 3 years. This is way different than House Moving Castle. I showed this one to Dan, a couple years ago now. Because this is a movie, if you hadn't seen anything else by this director, that you would want to see. This is the one that you would want to see. And there are English versions, there are sub version, dubbed version, whichever you prefer. I know House Moving Castle, I prefer the English version, which usually I don't. But anyway, that is who I'm going to go with. I was going to pick a Guy Ritchie film because I love Guy Ritchie, but then I was like, do I want to do that? But obviously I did not. Yeah, so that's where we are moving forward. And then I guess it is my turn to magically spin this wheel from Delmar to Easton. So let me stretch my arm a little bit. Oh, wait, look, I don't have an arm. Oh, look, it's growing. It's growing. Oh, wait, should I go on this?
Okay. No, you were right the first time. Okay. Are we ready?
I am ready.
So we're watching Spirited Away, and then after that, next week, this is what we're talking about. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my God.
Based on a true story.
Holy crap. Okay, so who picks next? Me? Are we going alphabetical or how are we doing it?
In the way we've been doing the wheel, the person that spun is the person that goes. So you get two
I got twice in a row.
You get 2 back-to-back weeks there.
Oh, God. So you have to listen to me host really badly 2 times
in a row. There's no being worse than Dan as host. So
no, there is.
You'll be all right.
There is. Okay, so based on a true story. Whew.
So we have a lot to think about for that next round of movie picks, guys. Please join us next week as we close our favorite directors' film picks and move on to our next chapter of film reviews. As always, thank you for tuning in to Picture This Film Reviews. Please see us at Picture This Film Reviews on Facebook, on Instagram. We don't have a Twitter yet, but who knows what tomorrow brings. We are Picture This Film Reviews on YouTube now, so it's all one big conglomerate here. Thank you to our host for coming in today to speaking with us. And does anybody have any closing thoughts, things they'd like to tell the peoples?
I was just going to say thank you to everyone who's been watching on YouTube. I mean, some of our videos really have been racking up the views, so we appreciate that. We appreciate the subscribers and also the followers on Instagram too. And if you check out our Instagram and you get a little confused, just check out our highlights tab that has all of our links to our videos straight in there if you're interested, or you can find that link to the page itself in our bio. So yeah, we appreciate, this is a lot of fun for us to do. So we appreciate hearing from anybody, even if you just put explicit words on our YouTube channel, hey, I mean, one of us gets a kick out of it. So
bad press is good press.
There you go.
Which I believe was a line in this movie by Bela Lugosi, just FYI.
I think you're right.
Yes, it was when he was in the rehab. Yeah, it was. And I nudged you, remember? I was like, oh, dude. Yeah.
But alrighty, guys. Again, thank you for tuning in, Mr. Matt. How do you sign us off?
Everybody have a great week. See you next Monday. And of course, love one another.
Bye.
See you guys.